I'm going to interview this gentleman. So good afternoon, sir. If you look into the camera, can you just remind Wendell Daniel from Street Mike of what is your name?
My name's Lee Lawrence and I'm the son of Cherry Groce.
So thank you very much for coming here, and just tell me a little more about your mum and what the last, was it 20, 25 years has been like for you since that major incident which caused big problems in London after your, tell the people what happened to your mum. Just talk and I'll hold it.
Okay. So my mum, it was the 28th of September 1985, 7 a.m. in the morning. We was asleep in my mum's room. Yeah, 38 years ago. And I heard a noise. Right? I saw my mum walking towards the door. And I thought, whatever it was, mum's taking care of it. And I laid back down. I was 11 at the time. And then I heard another noise. This time it was a loud bang noise. I jumped up and I just saw my mum on the floor. And a policeman holding a gun, pointing at her. And all I could hear her say is, I can't breathe, I can't feel my legs, and I think I'm gonna die. And hearing that just freaked me out. I just started screaming and shouting and looking at this man saying, what have you done to my mum? What have you done to my mum? And then the man points his gun towards me and says, someone better shut this fucking kid up. And it was only in that moment that I realized that this was the police. And I was shocked, because as far as I was concerned, these are the guys that are supposed to be the good guys, protecting us, whatever. And I've seen them do this to my innocent mum, and there was no kind of remorse in the immediate aftermath after. It was that incident that sparked the 1985 Brixton.
Can I just ask you, what exactly, if you don't mind me asking, did they do?
So they kicked in the door and they shot my mum. As soon as she opened, because she was walking towards the door, and as she was walking towards the door, they kicked in the door and they just basically shot the first person they saw, which was my mum. As a result of that, she was paralysed, never to walk again, had the fragments of the bullet lodged in her spine. And again, essentially, that's what sparked the 1985 Brixton uprisings.
And after the riots were sparked in Brixton, what effect did that have on persons like yourself and your family going forward?
Well, the trauma of that. We didn't get any therapy. 2 weeks later, I was back at school, and we were just left as a family to just try and pick up the pieces. It shattered my family, and it shattered the whole community. And it was something that, we've never really fully healed from.
And 38 years later, you're hearing about what has happened down in Stretton Hill with Chris Cubber. Can you see similarities in the behaviours and the conduct of the Metropolitan Police, and also the institution they represent, in hiding or not freely giving out information?
So first of all, I just want to say condolences to the Chris Cubber family, and because I know what it feels like, and all it does is resurrect the trauma and bring up the past pain. And when I see how, so there's the initial reaction to what's happened, how many years later you're still seeing things like this, which is, it's hurtful. And then you got how then the police respond to that, which is very similar to how they dealt with us, 38 years ago. So therefore, you see the similarities in terms of the straight away they go into this kind of protection mode. They don't give out much information, and then we as a community respond in the same way, because that builds up frustration, that builds up anger, and then that needs to be vented, and that's why we end up coming out and protesting in the same way that we are today. It's not much different really in terms of what happens and then the response to what happens. The difference is, if you was to ask me if there was any difference at all, is the timing in which they have responded so far. And it goes to show that when we do come together collectively and we make sure that our collective voices are heard, then that's the impact that that can have. And that's why it's so important that we stick together and we stand united in these moments.
Can you feel this protest and what's happening with Chris Cubber is slightly different to years ago due to social media and how quickly people can mobilise, form protests and come together? I'm not criticising what's happened in the past, but because of social media, things can get done, and it's suddenly become easier to hold the police to account. Are you sensing there's something different going on now?
Yeah, I'm sensing the urgency. I'm sensing the way that we mobilise ourselves very quickly. And the difference is back then, we, as a community, our community was dense. You know, we lived in Brixton, and most of us were just living very close by. So when these things happened, it was a Chinese whisper, and that's what vibrated for the community, and people were able to come together. Where today, it's social media, and you're getting that information direct to your phone, which can create a different response very quickly. And and I think it's a good thing that we're able to look at social media and use it for good, because, you know, we have to admit, social media is not always a good thing.
Yeah, let's agree.
Right? But there are times when it can be useful, and it's times like this.
And finally, what was it like when you heard Floyd Jarrett speaking so passionately earlier on? Because I see Floyd regular, we live within streets of each other, but it's the first time I've heard him speak about what's happened to his mum. You know, what's it like for you hearing he's gone through something, you've gone through something, this family's gone through something, and what's that like, hearing it keeps happening and happening and happening?
So firstly, right, it's quite rare and quite a unique experience where you find mothers were getting killed by the police. So in the 80s, that's what, you know, and they were very close together. What happened to my mum, what happened to Cynthia, were very close together. So, and I got to meet Floyd later on down in life, probably about 5 years ago, we connected, right? And it was good to hear him come and speak. And I think it's important for us to speak, to show that there is a historical context to this, and that we can lend some of that experience and that wisdom to the campaigns of today.
As normal, sir, thank you very much. Wendell Denner from Street Mike. I'm a live streamer. If you ever need any help and assistance to live stream things, contact me. Everyone has my details. I'm everywhere.
Thank you. And remember, together we rise, yeah? Together.
Excellent.